to order, and I'm hoping to hear good news and this time around, so I guess we'll wait and see. Karen, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
we have to take roll first.
Sorry about that. I should read
okay.
what's in front of me.
It's okay.
Yeah, please call roll.
So Commissioner Gibson.
Present.
Commissioner McEwen.
Here.
Commissioner Crampton.
Here.
Commissioner McCarthy.
Here.
Commissioner Panetta. Commissioner Schmidt.
Present.
And Commissioner Spangler. All right.
All right. Now, Karen, take it away.
Okay, great. For the benefit of our brand new commissioner, Sid Crampton, we'd like to introduce our Parks and Recreation team. One of the first people I'd like to introduce is Diane Tannehill. She helps us with all of our administrative duties and keeps us running smoothly. She's helped us a lot. She works in our main administrative office, and her duties have really been stretched lately in helping us out at the Sports Center as well. We also have Louis Marcuzzo, who is our Park Operations Manager. He runs the Parks Division. That includes the cemetery and Veterans Park campgrounds. We have Andrea Willer, who could not join us because her power is out at her house, and so she's looking for her son's laptop right now and maybe be able to join us later. She is our Sports Center Manager and runs our Sports Center Division. We have Shannon Leon, who is our interim Recreation and Community Services Manager, and she runs the Recreation Division that also includes field sports and community centers, special events, and summer programming. If I forgot anything, Shannon, you can add it for me later. Nate Coda is our Recreation Coordinator. He is currently working at El Estero Park Center. And Rachel Dice, who is also a Recreation Coordinator, working up at Hilltop Park Center. Also joining us today is Nat Roshanasatira, who is our Assistant City Manager. And I grab our whole team. Let me see if I see any other faces up here. It's definitely different being virtual. And so now we get on to the most important person is Sid Crampton, our brand new Parks and Recreation Commissioner, our newest member. And she was appointed to this commission by the City Council on January 19th, 2021, and she will be serving a term that will be ending in June 30th, 2025. As a third-generation Californian, Sid moved to Monterey in 2012 after 25 years in Pacifica, California. Sid has worked for RBC Wealth Management as a first vice president financial advisor since 2006. Sid is a lifelong basketball fan and a former collegiate player for UCLA and San Jose University, where she earned her bachelor's degree in psychology. Sid was drawn to Monterey by its incredible weather, beautiful natural attractions, and Monterey's rich heritage. And we're so fortunate to have Sid volunteer on the Parks and Recreation Commission, and we look forward to working with her to serve the needs of our community. So on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Commission and staff, we'd like to welcome Sid to our city team. And Sid, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, I'm the one who's really honored to be on this, and it's something I had tried a couple of times when I get on. It's wonderful for me. In physical education, but he was really involved in also creating recreational programs at the collegiate as well as the junior college level at high school. So it's kind of in the blood to be involved with this. And I'm really excited about doing whatever I can to give back to the community. And thank you so much for such a lovely welcome.
Of course. All right.
And thank you, Sid. We're really grateful to have you and your expertise on the board. I have down on my notes.
Thank you very much.
Public comments right now.
Yes, good evening, commissioners. We encourage members of the public to join our meeting via ZoomGov. Joining on Zoom is preferred because there is no lag time and you are connected live to the meeting. This meeting is also streamed live on youtube.com/City of Monterey with an approximately 10-second delay, and on Comcast channel 25 with about a 90-second delay. If you plan to make a public comment, join the meeting using Zoom on the app or by telephone. To join the meeting on Zoom on your computer or phone, use the link or phone number on the agenda at isearchmonterey.org. Since the meeting has started, you'll find the agenda under the Recent tab. To join by telephone, dial toll-free 833-568-8864. Then enter meeting ID 160-566-3903 #. And if you're prompted to enter a participant ID, press pound again. Detailed instructions on using Zoom are also available at monterey.org/public meetings. To make a public comment, raise your hand using Zoom, or if you're connected by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand. Then *6 to unmute yourself. Public commenters will be muted until it is their turn to speak. We also ask that public commenters please turn off your television or computer speakers or go to another room while connected by phone, as any background noise will interfere with the broadcast. I will call on each public speaker in the order of their hands raised. The chair has designated a 3-minute time limit for today's meeting, and we look forward to receiving your public comment. So let me see if we have any public comment. We have no public comment on this item at this time.
Okay, I close public comments now. Now I'd like to call on Karen to give a presentation on what's been going on in Parks and Recreation.
Thank you. I believe Shannon will queue up the presentation for us, and she will share her screen. Thank you, Shannon. Okay, we can go ahead and get started. Today we'd like to share a brief presentation with just some of our efforts in the Parks and Recreation and Sports Center divisions. We'll review some highlights of our operations for January and February, hear public comments, and answer questions from the Parks and Recreation Commission. So let's start off with Louie and Parks.
Okay. Excuse the barking in the background, part of the thing about being at home. He's outside right now. So we removed our Christmas decorations. This is a 2-monther, so we removed the Christmas decorations at Colton Hall and on Moonrest. We had a lot of debris cleanup after that one winter storm. Plants, we planted about 224 plants. And between the beach and gophers, the animals abated. A lot of time spent on transient camp removal between Don Abbey and the Iris Canyon area, behind the library, Garden Road, that areas. We did a cleanup on the traffic islands in Del Monte, trimmed back vegetation from walking trail at Del Monte. We've been doing some trimming on the buckwheat, which is an endangered and a controlled plant, so we have to do it at certain times on the boardwalk there at Del Monte Beach. A little bit of graffiti removal in the transit center. We did a complete re-landscape over at the visitor center, and if you get over that area, it looks pretty nice. Jack's Park, we've been doing some work with the fencing, and we enclosed under the bleachers there, so it's not as unsightly with all the storage there as it was before. We enclosed it with some wood siding, and we're installing a new gate there right now, so we can kind of close that off if we need to close the park in the future. And just a couple pictures of Del Monte there. In the boardwalk area. Forestry operations, we've been using a lot of CAL FIRE. Great labor for us. They've been working in Huckleberry Hill. We used them all around the city. We're getting a lot of hours out of them this time of year because they're not busy with fires. A lot of tree inspections, some pruning, and we've been collecting some tree inventory data, trying to get a good tree inventory going. And we responded to all our winter calls. And cemetery operations as usual. So what's next? Addressing current vacancies. This it's an ongoing thing. We'll be working out with the budget. Reopening playgrounds, dog park. We reopened everything on March 5th. Ball fields are open as of Monday, permit use. We did the tree planting for the memorial trees on the rec trail. That came out very nice. And I saw the Tree of Hearts going on today. Lori Welgo is doing a great job with that. And we will be opening the volleyball courts next Monday with permit use only.
Okay. So Monterey Recreation has been continuing with virtual recreation in our virtual recreation center. We've had 45 weeks of virtual recreation. This is something that we are probably going to let sunset once we hit the 1-year mark, because we really need to focus on the reopening and activities that are happening now. And so it's been something that's really been very helpful. We've got a lot of history, lots of different activities that we've done for 52 weeks, but we really need to transition back to hopefully some more normal in-person activities. So we are going to kind of let that dwindle. We've continued with community outreach and Facebook and Instagram. We had our first blood drive of 2021 with 27 units collected. We've continued to foster partnerships. The most recent one has been with the Alliance on Aging. More to follow. And then something that has been on the PRC and the staff work plan for quite some time is ballpark advertising. Due to COVID, the actual sales of ballpark advertising will be delayed to 2022. They will have a baseball, softball season, but that is just getting started right now, and it will be very different. So they've chosen to delay selling advertising to next year. And then we've been able to do is assist the Alliance on Aging with tax prep at the Schulte Center. So they have been able to do COVID safe tax prep for our seniors, and they've served 49 seniors in February. And it's all COVID safe and curbside. They come at a scheduled time, drop off their tax paperwork, and come back at the end of the day and pick it up. And no one ever has to leave their car. And then we've continued to do family and senior produce distribution. The numbers keep climbing, and we average about 378 individuals every Monday, but it's been 2,188 reservations since January, serving 8,700 people. So that's something that's been going since the end of June. And then we have our senior drive-thru Meals on Wheels, and that is now a one-man show pretty much. It's Nate Coda who has been doing that. He's got it down to a science, and we have a group of about 70 seniors who are registered and come through and pick up meals Tuesday through Friday. So that's our numbers for January and February, greatly increased since we started that program in August. And then we have preschool at Hilltop and El Estero. We have 3 preschool programs running right now. They are COVID safe. We take 10 kids in a group. Everyone wears a face mask. And this is highlighting our El Estero Center, which was the most recent center to get started. They started in February. And we were able to luckily bring back a preschool, Katie Clark, who was at Hilltop, has agreed to be our preschool instructor, and she's doing an amazing job. So this is just a few highlights of our preschool program running at El Estero. And the kids really have, they're just enjoying themselves immensely. They have no problems following the rules. They have no problems wearing a mask. They are just happy to be out and socializing with someone that isn't their family. So it's been a great experience. And this was just taken recently because we were able to open up the tot lot specifically for the El Estero preschool program. So they're really enjoying getting outdoors. And that is recreation, what we've been doing. What's coming for us is we are looking to expand our recreational offerings and community services. I have been busy permitting and regulating the use of ballparks. Hope to get to volleyball courts next week. We are still managing COVID-19 and precautions and informed consent and all of those things. We are planning for summer programs. Hopefully the Pecos League and the Amberjacks, they would love to come back. Community center reopening, field sports camps and leagues. Those are things that now that our ballparks are open and others can run programs, we are hoping we can do the same. We will be assisting our Monterey Fire Department with vaccine distribution, and we hope to offer a bunny hop photo op in the next couple weeks where participants can COVID safe schedule an appointment, come and take a picture with our bunny, receive a plush bunny and 3 dozen eggs per children, and hopefully, pay a small fee of $10 per child. We have lots of eggs left over from our canceled 2020 egg hunt. We're hoping to make this a fun, safe, and economical event for the community. So those are some of the things that we've got going. And with a very limited amount of staff, 5 of us, I think we've been able to do some amazing things. So hopefully we're looking forward to some more things to come. And then I don't think Andrea will be able to join us. She's having some technical difficulties. So Karen, will you?
Sure, I'll just go over some of the highlights there. She would give us a lot more details, but I will do my best. We have been doing our outdoor group exercise program for January and February. We did have to cancel the classes due to a spike in COVID cases. So we suspended those classes, but picked up again in February with an average of 132 participants per week. And that gave us about 530 participants served during the month of February, which brought in over $4,000 in revenue, which is really great to try to help defray the costs of the very small team that we have there at that center right now. We've implemented new policies due to the spike in COVID cases. We reduced capacity to increase social distancing, which means we reduced the maximum number of participants for each class so that we can then spread each participant out even further. And then we required masks for low exertion classes. So classes like yoga and Pilates, those participants will wear their mask for the entire class portion. And only very high exertion classes such as cycling would be allowed to remove their mask once they are in their position and on their bike and ready to start exercising. They may remove their mask during the class, but then replace it when they start to move around and exit the area. Current projects, we are working closely with building maintenance to desperately, I'd love to get this project done to try to get the pool deck and the locker room floor repaired and resurfaced, at least in the very problematic areas. I'd love to do that before we open. As our medical advisory board had recommended almost a year ago now, we'd like to replace the carpet in the stretching area. That's between the cardio rooms and the weight room. There was a carpeted stretching area there. We'd like to replace that with similar rubber flooring that you see in the cardio and the weight rooms, and also in the physical therapy area. So that should all look uniform and easy to sanitize, and still comfortable for people to stretch. We're also working on creating a stages studio exclusively for indoor cycling up in Studio 2. So that's the smaller studio upstairs. There's a new teaching platform, and we've added new lighting to make it, a little more fun and interesting. And we're exploring an interactive group display system where riders can compete with each other and they can watch themselves on that screen. We're working on getting quotes for that, and hopefully we can afford that and implement that before we reopen. And here's just a picture that kind of shows that and what kind of effect we might be able to achieve. Now, we do have a lot of windows, and we'll be keeping those open as much as possible, but we'll see how it all comes together and transpires. But this is one of the new things we would like to have ready to go when we open. Preparing for reopening 2.0, we did receive approval to re-employ our full-time facility coordinator. That is our person who is in charge of memberships, guest services at the front desk. We're working on updating our current software, so they'll be an integral part of configuring the system and getting that ready for the updated memberships and other offerings we'll have at that facility. So preparing the front desk for reopening, we are having to readjust all of our operations. And I think that's what's difficult for some people to understand. It's not like everyone just shows back up to work and it's business as usual. We've really had to adjust how we do operations. And so they'll be getting that ready, and also helping with the rehiring process and training members that return, and then developing a marketing campaign for new memberships as well. Approval, we did receive approval to reemploy a part-time senior aquatic specialist. We're hoping that that is going to be someone who will be able to help us with drowning prevention classes. That's kind of a fancy name for swimming lessons. That is something that is allowed in the purple tier. So that we're hoping that even when we're able to open in the earlier stages, if we are able to open the pool, if it's economically feasible to do so, and if the restrictions allow us to do so, we would really like to bring back swimming lessons. They will look very different than how they used to look, and we will have to work out all of those best practices and set up a new system. So that person will help us with that. Plan staff training with new policies and procedures. One example is we have lifeguards that will be in the stands, and because of COVID requirements and recommendations from the state and the CDC and the county, the lifeguard that's in the stand that's supervising the pool should not be the person who is also enforcing mask requirements and social distancing and those types of things. So we do have to review our policies and procedures and adjust accordingly. We'll ensure that pool and safety equipment meets all safety requirements and prepare the pool for a safe reopening. We also got approval to reemploy a part-time recreation specialist that will help us plan summer youth programs. Again, it won't be exactly like our sports camp that we used to have or cheerleading camp that we used to have. We're going to have to reinvent those types of programs, possibly have shorter hours depending on our economic abilities to pay for those types of programs. I'm not sure if she had anything else after that. Nope. So that was the conclusion of the presentation, and we would like to take public comments or answer any questions at this time.
Again, to make a public comment on this item, use the raise your hand feature if connected through Zoom, or if you're connected by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute yourself. Public commenters will be muted until it is their turn to speak. So let me see if we have any public comment. We have no public comment at this time.
I'd like to open it up for the commissioners, and if you don't mind, Dennis, go ahead.
Yeah, just a couple of quick questions. And Louis, you were talking about a gate at Jack's Park, and I'm just trying to visualize where that would be. So could you just talk a little bit more about that?
So visualize the front entrance to Jack's between the tot lot and where they used to take admission for, let's say, the Bronco World Series.
Right?
So it's a metal gate, or like a wrought iron gate, that's going to go across that area. That's going to be open all the time unless the park has to be closed, like we've had to have it closed for the last few months.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a lot of problems in there while the field was closed, and they could still get into the park area. We were having people sleeping in there and just causing problems in that area because it's pretty dark at night right there. So we're going to be able to shut it down if we have to, but it's going to stay open all the time, and it's not going to be an ugly fence gate. It's not chain link. It's black steel, and it's going to look presentable.
Got it. Just a second question real quick, and that is the tax preparation program that we're talking about. Is there an income qualification for that?
Not that I know of. I think it's free to seniors, but I don't know for sure. I want to say no.
Okay.
I think it's because they understand that it's often very difficult for seniors to understand all the tax laws and rules.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Louis, I had a question. I know it's great that the playgrounds are open. Any sense of when Dennis the Menace Park would open? What sort of, I guess, where do you have to be to open that?
I'm going to say that's going to be, I'm going to say Karen's going to answer that.
You know, Commissioner Gibson, I'll have to look back on that because that is considered a destination location, and so it's different than a neighborhood park or playground. I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head which tier that is.
Yeah, that's
but it's going to be a little while, I believe.
Yeah. And I can chime in too. I think Karen and Louis, we all have spent considerable time going through the California Department of Public Health guidance, Shannon as well, and it's very vague when it comes to the playgrounds. It does state playgrounds must be within and serve populations and residents neighborhoods within a half of a mile, and we all know that Dennis the Menace Park doesn't pass the sniff test. So we hope to reach out to the California Department of Public Health once we're in the red tier and find out a little bit more about how they define it so that we can have a path forward to reopening that park.
okay.
Same thing with the county too. We would want to consult with Dr. Moreno as well.
Just one other comment, Louis. I'm really glad to see the number of trees that are getting put in. I mean, it's sort of nice when I walk around the city, I can see a lot of new tree plantings, as well as the plants I know we put in all the time. But the trees, it's really nice to see them along the streets now.
We've really had a good year with replacing trees, and it's been a lot of NCIP money that we had on the books for a couple of years that we really went out and really did a large street tree repopulation. So I'm glad you noticed that.
No, I did. Other commissioners have comments?
Can I respond to a couple of items real quickly for you guys if there's no other comments?
Sure.
One, Commissioner McCarthy, we'll be sure to include before and after pictures in our presentation at the next meeting of the Jack's Park gate. So, and we could also let you know when it's installed if you'd rather go see it in person, but I promise we'll put some before and after pictures there for you. And then one other thing that we'll have to consider when we reopen Dennis the Menace is the capacity to monitor capacity, because the state may say, oh, you can only have 10% capacity or 25% capacity. And we may need to know if we have the capacity to monitor the capacity. I'm sorry, that's not a very eloquent way to say it, but that's another element of opening that facility.
Well, and I guess the only other comment is I am really amazed at how much you guys do with such a small staff. It's very heartening to see how you support the community.
I think Sid has a question.
Yeah, I have a question. I live right down the street from Via Paraiso Park, and I can't tell you how well maintained that park is. It is just a jewel, and we love going there. And what's so wonderful is to see the families returning to the playgrounds and being able to play with their kids. And I know this has to do with an oversight of capacity, but do you have any idea when they're going to open up the area for the picnics?
That's also another COVID requirement. So it'll depend when we can have people gather, because as of right now, we don't have the authorization to encourage people to gather in groups, especially people from outside their household. So we'll just have to really monitor those tiers. I've been working with other peninsula directors, including Seaside, Marina, Salinas, and Pacific Grove. We've been scouring the requirements to see when can we open picnic areas, because it's getting to that time of year where people really want to have birthday parties outside and those types of events. And we haven't been able to find anything. So we've reached out to the county, who is going to be reaching out to the state to help us get a little more clarity on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other comments from commissioners? If not, let's move on to approval of minutes from the last meeting, January 13th. Does anyone have any comments or questions? I just have one little one, Diane. On the last page, under informational reports, could you change it to, it's just a typo, manager rather than manger? Willer.
Oh,
thank you. Sorry.
The only one I saw. That's pretty good. If there aren't any questions or comments, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Is there any further discussion? Was that a Christian? Did you have a question? Okay. All right. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay, the minutes stand as corrected. I'd now like to open it up for public comments on any item that is not on our agenda.
To make a general public comment, use the raise your hand feature if connected through Zoom, or if you are connected by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand, then *6 to unmute yourself. Let me see if we have any general public comments. We have no general public comment at this time.
I had one question about the letter that we received. We'll just consider that informational and not a public comment. Okay, just checking. All righty, so let's move on to reviewing the Parks and Recreation Commission work plan. Karen, would you please go over that for us?
sure. Okay, so today we'd like to give the commission an opportunity to review the PRC work plan from 2019 to 2020, as well as 2020, to discuss and propose potential priorities for the 2020-2021 work plan. Please keep in mind that the 2019-2020 work plan was thwarted by COVID-19 pandemic, severe wildfires, and economic crisis. And the Parks and Recreation Department focus was shifted from recreational programming to essential services such as blood drives, food distribution, virtual programming, emergency shelters, and emergency operations center support. Make sure the sports center, the community centers, Veterans Memorial Park campground, playgrounds, beaches, ball fields, athletic courts, the recreation trail, and barbecue picnic areas all suffered closures, and the Recreation and Sports Center division experienced significant employee layoffs. Luckily, it appears that the pandemic environment is improving, and the Parks and Recreation, as the Parks and Recreation Commission looks forward to the future for a work plan for 2020-2021, staff respectfully proposes a mindful reflection on current departmental capacity as well as staff and council priorities for the upcoming year. So staff recommends that the Parks and Recreation Commission review the PRC work plan from 2019 to 2020 and the council approved city staff work program, as well as discuss and propose priorities for the PRC 2020-21 work plan. Staff will review PRC and public comments from this meeting and then return with a revised proposed work plan for your review and approval. And so if it will help you, I can pull up the previous work plan, if that will help with have that on the screen. Would you like that will that assist your discussion?
I think it would.
Okay, let me see if I could do that from here. I don't do it as often on Zoom, so let me see if I see it where.
So I have a question maybe for Nat, that Nat could answer. Artful Parks, will there be a city birthday celebration just a little delayed from what was originally planned for last year?
We are hoping to, yes. We haven't had discussions exactly on what that timeframe might look like. We're hoping by the fall, early fall, perhaps. We're still working with the artist who has been putting together and building the frame and the tiles for the Great Abalone structure that's scheduled to be installed at San Carlos Beach. So we're quite candidly, we're struggling a little bit with the timing of that project. Our artist has been running into a number of delays related to COVID-19, both on the supply side as well as on the personal side, without going into detail. So more information will be forthcoming. We should have an update for you either next month or the following month.
Okay, because I wondered if the mural had progressed at all. This is relating for the commissioner to Artful Parks. There was a mural proposed as well, and I had gone to a couple of the meetings in place of Shelby Gorman, but I'm not sure where that stood ultimately.
Yeah, I recall us discussing a mural early in the days, and unfortunately, we didn't have enough funding to move forward with the mural. There were several other projects that were being proposed. So there's supposed to be a mural. There was supposed to be an event featuring a history theatrical show, so to speak, out on the rec trail by Shoreline Park, and none of that came to fruition, not only due to COVID, but because of the lack of donors and funding needed to support the project. So our focus right now is on the abalone sculpture.
Okay, so I guess that's the question. If we still need that as a objective, if the committee that's working on that is still active, then I would propose that I just take over in that position as lead, if it's necessary. Let's put it that way. I wasn't sure.
And I'll defer to Karen because she may know more about the history of the art, unless, or we may know the same things. So
your recollection is the same as mine now. In fact, yours was much more detailed than mine was, but that was my understanding as well. But I'm not sure if that committee is still needed, but I could always circle back with Inga to see if that is still an active committee.
Yeah, could you find out? Because I don't mind serving because I'm familiar with what they were doing, but if we don't need it, we can just eliminate that.
Yeah, I think we can eliminate. I can confidently say that the committee is no longer active.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have another question. It's related to the NCIP activities. I did forward a question to the the city manager that's, running that program. And he's basically indicated they're not clear how they're going to proceed on all the canceled projects. And that affects a lot of our park projects, I'm assuming as well, that were still not funded.
Yeah, I think now you may know more than I do, but I believe they're still figuring out how they're going to move forward with NCIP and how they're going to prioritize past projects versus maybe even new proposed projects. I am usually in touch with Steve about this topic, but we haven't been in touch the last 2 weeks.
Yep, Karen's assessment is correct. There was a subcommittee meeting of the NCIP last week, and I honestly don't have details on what transpired, but we do believe there will be a recommendation to move forward with this NCIP program allocation.
I can, but Commissioner Gibson, I can see if I can find out if there has been any development or if the committee is still deciding.
Because it made me wonder whether we even had needed to go look back and see what projects were not done that were our priorities, and just so we have some background to work forward from whenever there are funds still available.
Yeah, I could probably say that the parks, I don't think we have anything left that's not funded.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think. I don't think, I think we've completed everything we were supposed to complete, and I can't think of one that was unfunded.
Okay.
But I'll get Karen on that. I'll check again because I just went over the whole list the other day. But I think we're pretty good on completing them and giving back the money of the ones we had extra on.
So Ellen, go ahead.
Yes, NCIP has been something that I've been working with for some years now. And I didn't quite hear what you said, Nat, is I know that for last year, clearly all the NCIP money was brought into the general budget just to support the city. Is there any money for NCIP this year, or is this year sort of a write-off as well?
No, there was money for NCIP, at least at this time. And of course, there's been some discussion about, I mean, staff is recommending that we move forward with NCIP. I don't know at the end of the day how those conversations will transpire, whether that's the full 16% or a portion of it, or what that looks like, depending on, and we all recognize that there's programs such as Sports Center Recreation, others that need funding too. So, but we do know that a number of neighborhood associations and others are looking to hopefully bring that back, and staff will support that.
By this time on a normal year, we would have put proposals forth for funding for NCIP. Is there someone that I should be in contact with so that I can get the latest information on what they're thinking about? I think that link would be helpful.
Yeah, how about I start with Steve Witry,
Okay.
and then and we'll see.
Great. I don't anticipate that we'll be able to fund a lot of large projects this year. In my experience in past years, a lot of the first votes were always towards fuel reduction. And with decreased income this year, I'm guessing if we can even get fuel reduction funded, that probably will exhaust NCIP, but you never know. So it would be nice to speak to whoever's, figuring that out. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Just to jump in, I do believe though that the NCIP will not necessarily follow the regular schedule that it has. I think they're planning on NCIP not even actually getting fully approved until after the budget, so maybe even September. So I know they haven't opened applications yet, but I think they realize everything is going to be delayed due to that. And I think they're they're working with a budget of a goal of 2.5 million for this NCIP, just based on what TOT might actually be due to COVID. But everything will be bumped, and as soon as we know what that looks like, we will let you know.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
I think we have our subject matter expert, Shannon Leon, on this. Glad she's here. It's great. You know more than many of us, so appreciate her chiming.
So I guess other commissioners, what are your thoughts on this work plan? Do we certainly need to update it, I guess. Perhaps even other people want to be assigned different projects. I did ask Karen just in an email about the rec trail renovation. Once I looked at the coastal transportation plan, where they were basically taking the rec trail in the next 50 years away, I was wondering how we put input into that.
So we don't spend the $8 million to move the wall back and widen the trail.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, because I'm the lead on that. I had the same question. I mean, what do we want to do in connection with the trail, if anything? Sort of moving forward. The current, as it currently reads, it talks about a trail-wide renovation project. Well, there's not going to be monies for that, and from my perspective, unless we have some source that I don't know about. I think it still should remain on the work list, but I'm not sure how far we're going to get, and I'd appreciate any input folks have got.
Dennis, this is Ellen McEwen here. As we discussed earlier, I think advocating for bicycle paths away from the rec trail, as much as I love bicycling down the rec trail, so that if cyclists are trying to move faster, which is the more dangerous scenario, that they have a safe place to be on the street. And if we can develop whatever it was called, Monterey on the Go, if we can, I would love to move forward with more bike paths and to have something that would work to get from central Monterey over towards the Pacific Grove side, that bypassed that particularly used portion of the rec trail. And that's likely to be less expensive than an $8 million revamping of the trail.
I think, Ellen, and I think, there's been a huge increase in electric bikes, which concern me with pedestrians. I mean, it's kind of amazing the popularity that they've incurred.
And if we could find a place that was comfortable, going through the tunnel on a bicycle is just not comfortable. We need to have another way around. And that one that was proposed met a hitch at that one intersection that has that little, anyway, I won't go into the details. You probably recall, but there was a half a block area that was difficult. So not to belabor it, but that's, if I were to put in my 2 cents, I would encourage the higher speed bicycles and electric bikes to have a safe path on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this would be something that we'd work in conjunction with the traffic engineering division. Andrea Rennie works a lot on these efforts, as well as the planning department when it comes to multimodal transportation options and plans. So it sounds like we're kind of going down that road. We're interested in it, right? Because we know it affects our recreation trail, and bicycling tends to be like a recreational activity. But this is something that also planning and traffic engineering work extensively on.
Hi, this is Sid. We use the trail quite a bit, the recreation trail, and not just in Monterey, but throughout the bay into Seaside, Marina, etc. And I think the problem for the bicycles is really more during the time when you have high tourist activity on the trail. And I'm not sure if there's a way to limit bicycles on the recreational trail in the high tourist areas so that these kinds of accidents don't happen. But you know, I'm walking dogs on the trail in the other direction, and I never have a problem with a bicycle, whether it's electric or not, because it's not highly trafficked. You know, it's just me and my dogs and, you know, a couple of other people. So because I know that there's not going to be much of a solution or money available if you have to move the entire street in our lowest areas of Monterey. So I'm not sure that if this is money well spent by creating a wider path, nor is it feasible to even take over part of the surface streets for bicycles when you don't even have enough through fare right now. So that's my concern.
See, this is Dennis. Just real quick, you know, not going to go through the whole history, but yeah, we've gone round and round about the area and the high trafficked area between Fisherman's Wharf and Coast Guard Pier, and you know, there's been different proposals made about that, but nobody's come up with anything that, from my perspective, is viable, and that's why.
Right.
To Ellen's credit, she's talked about some alternatives, be it lower Presidio or something else. So any creative thoughts you've got on that, you know, not tonight necessarily, but another time, I'm more than appreciated.
I'll absolutely put my my two nerve cells together and see what I can come up with.
Great.
And just to jump in, I think what we've learned with COVID is it's really difficult to manage people, and you can put up as many signs as you want and give them direction, but it's very difficult to get them to comply. And what we really see a big issue with the recreation trail is groups of people walking 6 across down the rec trail, groups of them walking down. And that's where the conflict between bicyclists and pedestrians really comes into play, is they don't necessarily, pedestrians don't necessarily follow the lines and the rules necessarily. So it gets pretty dicey, especially when it's beautiful weather and it's in that choke point, I guess. So.
Well, and we are trying to make it attractive to tourists, correct?
Mm-hmm.
To bring them in and have a safe environment to walk on. So, I mean, we used to ride our bicycles along that route and gave it up because it was not safe for anybody, you know, with us riding our bicycles. Not that we went that fast, but so, you know, we've found other areas to go.
So I guess, you know, when I look at this work plan, I mean, I think most things are fine to continue with. I think part of it is getting traction on some of them that are kind of vague, like community needs assessment. I think sometimes we don't know what they need. I was going to comment, I think the city starting the Have Your Say as a way of getting public input might be a way for us to use that. I was on something similar in my former life called Your 2 Cents, where it was the same sort of public input from employees that we could deal with suggestions or comments on a weekly basis. And it actually was very useful for the agency. But it's just a way of perhaps we can sort of work on that. And we don't have a commissioner assigned to that. So anyone who's interested could jump in.
I'm not on any of the columns here, so wherever there's the most need, I'd be happy to try and help out.
I was wondering if you would take dog parks because you have dogs.
Yes, I will.
And anything else that looks of interest to you, hop in. You know, there's
Okay. All right.
plenty to go to.
Absolutely. Be happy to.
Yeah, and I guess the only other the other two that I'm assigned to, again, I don't have a lot of traction because you're right, COVID has kind of slowed everything down. Operations and maintenance and partnerships, that's something I really would like to work on, whether it's writing grants. I mean, I have a big history of writing grant proposals for keeping my research program going. And so I don't mind helping. I just need some direction as to what's needed, and perhaps I would need a little bit of staff time when I start working on something. But I'm volunteering, Karen. You heard that.
I wrote you down right here. We have some grants in mind that we might like you to take a look at if you're interested.
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking at the library, the library system and the foundation. I mean, my husband's on one of the committees to help fundraise for them. I don't know if we're prepared for that in having a park foundation or not, but it's something I think certainly worth thinking about for the future.
One thought real quick, and that is looking at the city council's priorities. Maybe we want to add one specific thing to this work list, and that's the old Capitol site planning,
Yes, that's a great idea.
which is something very specific, and it aligns with what the city council and the mayor have been talking about.
Right. Dennis, are you interested in working on that?
Yeah, since the trail's not going to go very far, I'm on the trail in the sports center, so right now I've got some time. But that's fine. Old Capitol site planning would be fine. I'm glad to take the lead on that.
Yeah. And Shannon, for special events, I'm guessing no 4th of July activities?
I don't think we've made an official decision about this year, but I think going forward, the 4th of July is going to have to be modified into something a little more manageable just because of staff capacity.
Right.
So I'm anticipating some sort of musical entertainment and food trucks versus the full bounce houses and face painting and all carnival booths, because we just won't have the staff. But I love special events. I love the community events. I love the egg hunts and hopefully, we can do trunk and treats and 4th of July. It's just, everything's kind of on hold because of COVID, and we just don't know how many people can gather at any one time. So
Well, I think your bunny hop idea sounds great. I mean,
thank you.
that should be fun.
Yeah.
So, Karen, I'm not sure if we have to vote on this, or can we just ad lib and add this on the Capitol site and Dennis to take lead?
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll draft something as a staff and we'll bring it back for your review and
Okay.
for your guidance and adjustments then. I really appreciate Commissioner McCarthy taking a look at that city staff work plan that council has approved, because that's a pretty hefty list. So I'm glad that you saw that and we're mindful of that. And if we could also just manage the expectations of what type of resources we will have to put towards Old Capitol site. We're really excited about that property. We know that a master plan is important, and master plans cost money. So we'll have to secure that funding in order to move forward with that master plan. So just want to manage expectations with these types of projects, knowing that we're trying to reopen facilities and rehire staff as well.
Do you have a sense as to how you'll move forward in terms of getting back to full capacity? What kind of time frame we're working with?
Part of it is the economic challenges on top of it. So even if we're able to work through the COVID challenges and the COVID restrictions, as long as there's a financial strain on the city, that also hinders our ability to open full board and offer all the services and programs that we used to offer. But right now it looks like it could take at least 2 years. To be really honest, the way that we're looking at the next couple of years with the budget, it really is going to depend on how quickly we get through the pandemic and how quickly the economy recovers as far as sales tax and TOT and the city budget overall.
Karen, this is Dennis again. Can I ask just a quick question? Again, it has to do with the city council priorities, and I just don't know the status of Ryan Ranch, disc golf, ADA compliance, and
Right.
just where it is. I know we don't have money to build anything out there, so it's probably not getting done, but where is that? Because every once in a while we see something in the paper, be it a letter to the editor or whatever, and we as commissioners get asked, what are you doing about this? Or what's the status?
Right, right. And it's such a great question, Dennis. Thank you for asking it, because I actually had it in my PRC end of meeting comments to bring up to you guys. So I really appreciate you bringing it up now. We have been working with representatives from the Stinging Jellies, and we're working through environmental and ADA regulations right now. The Stinging Jellies is committed to providing funding to handle the ADA improvements that we need to do. So they have been submitting plans, and we are assessing what those will cost. And then they will assess if they're able to provide the funding for that project. And also working through environmental requirements. As you may remember, it could be sensitive in some areas environmentally, and we can only mow certain times of the year. You can't disturb nests for special, Louis knows the names of the species that we can't disturb there. There's a special footed rat, wood rat or something that we have to
Wood
be
rat.
mindful
Yeah.
of. So we are working through those environmental and ADA issues actively. Nat and I have been meeting with the Stinging Jellies probably about every 2 weeks or so. And I don't know if Nat, if there's anything that you'd like to add.
No, Karen explained it very well. We do appreciate the partnership. They've been very good partners with us recently with engaging with us. They have plans they just sent us today as an update. And we feel like we have a good, a solid path forward. We also are working to draft an agreement that would allow the Stinging Jellies to operate and essentially have a license to operate at Ryan Ranch Park long term. So there's the twofold piece, the project piece that Karen explained so well, and then of course the operational side. It's our hope that in the next couple of months we'll have an agreement in place, and we can then allow disc golf to reopen once the ADA improvements are approved and actually built. So the building process might take a little bit longer.
Well, that kind of public, private partnership is where we're going to have to go in some direction to get some monies for some of this stuff. So that's very, very encouraging. Thank you.
I had something else listed for my closing comments, but I wonder if it's better to bring it up now for your consideration for the PRC work plan, and that is the Laguna Grande JPA, if that is something that you might be interested in learning about and participating in. Right now, we've been preparing for a Laguna Grande JPA meeting, hopefully sometime this month. And we have worked on I'm sorry, I can't think of the word right this second. There was a request for proposals for creating a trail maintenance study. And so they're getting ready to award that contract. They also want to receive a report from TAMZ, which is the Transportation Agency for Monterey County. I'm not sure if Sid knows all these acronyms, so I'll try to make sure I spell them out the first time for her. And as well for an update on the Ford Tag project, which is the Fort Ord Regional Trail and Greenway. And they're also going to receive an update on the North Fremont Bike and Pedestrian Improvement from Casanova to Canyon Del Rey. So those are things that are going to be coming up hopefully in March with the Laguna Grande JPA, but I didn't know if that is something that would be considered part of the PRC work plan. And Shannon, please correct me if I'm wrong, if this isn't something that would typically be a part of something like this.
Actually, I recall that Dennis and I went to one of the meetings on when they were just getting it started in terms of the agreements.
We did. I remember at City Hall in Seaside.
Yeah.
So Karen, I guess my question is, are you asking, should we put this on our work plan so that we can track it, or is there another way to track it, or
Yeah, I didn't know if that is something you'd want to add to your work plan, if there's commissioners that are interested in participating in that process and having input into that process. That partnership with the other agencies in improving the trail maintenance at Laguna Grande Park. Because I believe that's one of the priorities on our council worksheet as well.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
It seems, Ellen McEwen here, it seems reasonable to put it on the work plan. We don't have all of the commissioners on our Zoom tonight, and this will be available to them, and maybe we can all think about anything else that we might want on our work plan or what we might want to sign up for, so that everybody, including the people who aren't here tonight, have an opportunity to volunteer for whatever their interests and abilities best lend themselves towards doing.
And Ellen, to
Yeah.
follow comment real quick, this is Dennis. On the old capital site planning, I just said yes because I was asked. If there's other folks that have interest in it, I'm more than willing to seat it. To your point, not everybody's here. So I just don't want to glom onto something if somebody's got a real interest in that.
So Karen, what you said is you'll basically mock it up with the staff, and we can bring this up at the next meeting.
That's
and
correct.
Potentially do reassignments as needed.
Sure. And would you like us to leave the PRC lead and PRC alternate sections blank? Or do you like us to pencil some people in similar to what's already here now and some of the items that came up this evening?
Well, I almost leave it blank, and that way everybody can sort of reconsider what they want to spend their time on.
Sure. Okay.
And then at our next meeting, we could bring that back for a formal vote and
Right.
plug everyone in.
Right.
Mhm.
So, if I guess there aren't any other comments, we'll move on to staff comments.
As far as this topic, or
Or I guess any topic. I think are we done with the work plan?
do we need to take public comment for the work plan?
Yeah,
Yes.
let's do. Yes.
Yeah, to make a public comment on this item, use the raise your hand feature if connected through Zoom. And let me see if we have any public comment. We have no public comment on this item.
Okay. Karen, want to start us off on staff comments?
Okay, sure. Well, I gave some of mine already, so it should be really short and sweet. One of them is the reminder for the council study session at 4 p.m. on March 24th for the Brown Act training. It's very helpful if you have any specific questions, if you could submit them ahead of time so that the city attorney can incorporate them into the presentation. So if you'd like to email those to me or give me a call or whatever works for you. If you have any specific questions, I know this commission has been very curious about these guidelines in the past, and I think it will be really helpful for Sid if she's able to attend that training as well. It will be recorded, so if you aren't able to go to that meeting, you could always watch it later. But it would be great if you're able to watch it that day, and if you have any questions, we can hopefully get those answered for you. You could also call in that evening if you'd like.
Okay, can you send us a reminder as to the specifics, the time and the date?
Sure, sure. And then my only other comment is just to thank my incredible team again. They just continue to amaze me month after month, week after week, the hours and the dedication that they put in. We had to, because our department has been affected so greatly by the budget cuts, we are actually working on our budget a little more in advance of some of the other city departments. And it makes it a little more crunch time for them. And they've really stepped up to the plate to crunch those numbers and get those ready so that we can preview some of those options a little earlier with city management and try to come up with creative solutions. Also opening ballparks and playgrounds and getting the permit process ready. Again, it's a brand new system. So when you're having to get things like informed consent forms developed and designed and approved by attorneys and agreed to by the school district and other agencies, it takes some heavy lifting, and this team has done really an amazing job. So I just want to make sure that I thank the entire team for all of their efforts for those priorities that we've had over the last couple of months.
Thank you, Shannon.
So I did give you a good idea of what's to come, but we are working diligently on summer programming. We have a proposal for a modified COVID-safe outdoor summer program that would be at as many as 9 city parks. And it would be small groups because of COVID. We, at this point, are limited to groups of no more than 16. And so we're really trying to spread ourselves out and help as many people as we can, but realize that this will not be a normal summer. And if you watch the Mornings with the City Manager today, Hans made an announcement that our Camp Kinsabi program will not be happening this summer. And that really is 2 factors. One is COVID, and the other is the fact that the wildfire, the river fire, heavily damaged Toro Park. And it really burned to the edges of the overnight area for the youth. And there's lots of tree damage. There's also been significant damage to the trails because of the recent winter storms. We had a big one in January. I'm not really sure what this winter storm has done to Toro, but it doesn't seem like the right time to try and put a camp program at Toro. And it's also not financially feasible because we really have to have a large number of kids in order to make that kind of effort happen. So we are deferring and really planning for 2022. And we hope with that extra time, we will be able to heavily promote and market and really build some momentum and some energy and come back even better than we were before. But we are planning for a summer. We are planning to help people, accommodate people as much as we possibly can. But again, it will be different. And I think hopefully people will be happy with what we can offer, because I think they're really eager for any opportunity they have to recreate. And of course, we will always do the best we absolutely can. That's how we work. We always do the best we can. We are also hoping, and we've kind of mentioned it before, to make an investment in technology. We are hopefully very close to picking a new registration software that we can move forward and implement, because our capacity is now much different. We need a registration software that does some of the work for us, and is also something very simple and easy for just about anyone to use on the customer side. We want to really drive people to the online process, and so they can help themselves. The idea is kind of to be as simple as Netflix. You know, you sign up for Netflix, and do you ever have to mess with Netflix again? No. So we really want to be as easy as possible so that people can register from us at any time of the day or night. So hopefully that will be something we'll be moving forward with. The other thing is we're just really excited to get back to some of our traditional recreation programs. We miss seeing people. We miss the things that we used to do. Everything will be different, but we're really excited to get back to some sort of, you know, what we do. We miss seeing people. We miss seeing the kids. We miss the parents. We want to, but so we're excited. We're hoping to be able to get some staff back. We were able to rehire one person in February, Misty True, our recreation specialist, and she's been instrumental in helping us plan for summer and also teaching preschool. And then one other thing is we will still continue to do essential community services. We really will be supporting produce and blood drives and those type of things, and hopefully assisting with vaccine administration. But we're also really excited, and we have a really great team to get back to doing some more traditional activities. So that's it.
Great. Sounds great. Andrea's not on the call, but you know, all of us are waiting to get in that pool. Really miss that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Especially. And Lily, any comments from you?
Oh, I'm just gonna say, go visit the memorial trees over there at Shoreline Park. They should be blooming in about a week and a half. And take a look at the Tree of Hearts that they have over there at Friendly Plaza, where they hung a bunch of hearts on the tree.
Yeah. And I know, Sid, I noticed you're a gardener, you know. we do have a volunteers in parks program,
Mm.
and I do that already. So I do
Yes.
reading a lot.
And is that where you're assigned to a particular park, a particular thing to do, or is it just whatever they need?
We just meet as a group on Tuesday mornings. You just
Mhm.
volunteer, you fill in a form for liability purposes,
Uh-huh.
and then we just show up where we're supposed to show up. Tools are provided, you bring your own gloves.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Works great. Commissioners, who'd like to start?
I'll start. A lot of crickets coming from my end, but there's just so much information, and it's so good to hear that you guys are so vested in us, in our community. And I honestly, I don't know what rock I've been hiding under for this PRC work plan, but I'm definitely looking it over, and I'm going to be sending emails out to Shannon and whatnot just to get more information on it all. But yeah, thanks for everything, and I'm looking forward to the next chapter in this COVID experience and getting back to some normalcy.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Ellen,
everybody.
Yeah, well, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you all, one and all. It's always a pleasure. And although Parks and Rec at this point is small, you're truly mighty. So bravo. Thank you.
Let's see, Sid, how about you?
This is exciting for me. You know, this is like you say, there's quite a few 3-letter acronyms, TLAs that I'm not aware of, and so I wrote them down. I'm going to look them up. Not going to take your precious time to find out what they are, but I'm on a learning curve like this, and every material you send out, I read a few times, and this is pretty exciting. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
I have every confidence in you. And Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, just first welcome to Sid, because this is a great group. It's a good group of folks to work with, both the staff, and the commissioners. And I just can't wait till we can sort of dig in and try to accomplish, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, whatever it may be, just incrementally get back to doing some things. And at some point when we have some money, it'd be nice to do something big, but we'll see. So, and staff, again, I said it every time, and it's true. Just seeing what you guys do for the community, be it the blood drives or the food, produce distribution, it's just great stuff. And I'm glad to see you, sort of keeping the face of recreation out there. It's just good to see, and it's helpful for our image. How's that? In addition to being good. So, thanks.
Yeah, I'd reiterate Dennis's comments. I think you guys contribute greatly to the community. If you looked at how many people you touch, whose lives you touch with your staff, I think it's a pretty high number ratio. It's you keep plugging away. It's amazing what you do with what you have. I'm also looking forward to our next meeting because I will be fully immunized by then. And I'm reading it's April 14th at 5:30.
Yes.
Great. And I guess we'll all look forward to hearing more good news as we get through this little by little. Anything else? If not, I'm going to declare the meeting adjourned. I think we're good. Bye, everyone.
Thank